From the WATE.com Digital Center, answering your legal questions. This is Ask Isaacs. Now, here's Lori Tucker and attorney Greg Isaacs.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Lori Tucker, along with our legal analyst, Greg Isaacs. We're so glad you could be with us today. We're talking about something that every parent with a child who wants to be into gaming needs to watch. So go ahead. If you're watching right now, think of some questions, comments you may have, and you have our legal analyst right here to answer those. We're talking the dangers of kids and gaming and predators online. And there is an East Tennessee connection. An Iowa family claims their 13-year-old daughter was kidnapped by someone she met in a Roblox chat room. Now they're suing the Roblox Corporation, accusing the gaming platform of failing to protect children from predators. I want to go ahead and lay the groundwork here so you're familiar with this story. Here is reporter Kelly Milan.
A family in Iowa says a stranger met their 13-year-old inside a Roblox chat room, moved the conversation off the platform, and lured the child across state lines. The teen was recovered in Jefferson County, Tennessee in May. Now, that family and others are suing, saying Roblox failed to keep their kids safe. The lawsuit against Roblox Corporation, a free-to-play gaming site that has become wildly popular among preteens, claims the platform enabled grooming, exploitation, and trafficking of their 13-year-old daughter. Court records say a 37-year-old man kidnapped and repeatedly and violently sexually abused and raped the teen until she escaped. Martin Amaya Sandoval is now being held in Jefferson County Jail on a $500,000 bond, charged with 4 counts of aggravated statutory rape.
These are very unsafe environments for children. They expose children to predators and harmful content.
Over the course of months, Sandoval began grooming the minor on the platform's online chat, purchasing gifts, even telling her that he was in love. Escalating further, where he asked the victim to engage in sexually themed role-playing and to send sexually explicit photos and videos. Safety advocates say most grooming often looks like friendship, gifts, and attention until it's not.
What happened before trafficking is really where I think we need to be focused. We need to be preventing those opportunities for children to become vulnerable, to have, these opportunities to engage with people online that might take advantage of their vulnerability. That's where we're really concerned.
But this is not an isolated case. Families across the country have filed similar lawsuits, alleging Roblox failed to keep minors safe. Court records indicate Roblox still relies on self-reported birth dates for age verification. In a statement to News 2, Roblox says, "We are deeply troubled by any incident that endangers our users. At Roblox, safety is a top priority, and we are continually innovating new safety features." Back here in Tennessee, investigators say the teen is safe at home. The civil case in Iowa is only the beginning, and Martin Amaya Sandoval is due back in court on November 21st. Back to you.
All right, that was reporter.
A family in Iowa says
that was reporter Kelly Milan, and you heard Greg there. She said Roblox requires self-reported birth dates. So if you're a child, you could put any birth date at all. And a matter of fact, we put this to the test. So do you want to go ahead and bring in someone we talk about a lot here, and that is our digital producer, Hope. Hope, come on in, because Hope really wanted to test this. You've been doing a lot of research into Roblox and other gaming platforms, and you're familiar with the whole process. Tell us what you did, because you were able to manipulate a birth date.
Yeah, so Lori, one of the things I was looking at when I was looking at this lawsuit is the child in the case is 13.
Mm-hmm.
So how young can you get on that platform before anybody notices?
Mm-hmm.
What I noticed when I was setting up an account is the date of birth years go all the way up to 2020.
Wow.
So me just being curious, I set up an account pretending to be a 7-year-old just to see what parental barriers there would be.
What'd you find?
It doesn't ask you, do you have your parents' permission? It doesn't ask anything that would let your parent know, hey, your kid's signing up for something, until you try to log out.
And what happens then?
And then, let's see, I can actually show you. Nope, that is the wrong thing. 1 second. Please work with me, computer. this is the email that you get after you sign in as the parent. But if you look here, this is what happens when you log out. This is where it finally asks, hey, do you want to put in a parent's email? And you can skip that. That question down at the bottom, accept risk of losing account, you can just bypass your parent knowing altogether.
Oh my goodness. And this is logging out, so you could have already been very active playing the game and chatting to whomever, wherever.
Or if you never log out of the game.
True.
So once you do, in fact, give your parents' email, hopefully your children are honest, they'll go ahead and give that. After that point, your parent gets an email that says, hey, your child has an account. Here's some of the things you can do to protect them. And also, if your child loses their account, here's how they can get it back.
So you can actually, if you look at that closely, you can set up a linked parent account and you can actually watch what your child does.
Yeah. And some of the things they've added recently I like, but these are what came out in November. So some of the parental controls, they'll allow you to monitor who your kid's friends with, how long they're spending on the account. You can set a limit to stop them, and you can monitor that from your own account if you're not even in the same room.
Very important stuff.
Those are good things, but at the same time, if you've lied about your age, you bypass that completely. Or there are some things where Roblox has now set up limits as far as where children who say they're under 13, how they can message, but parents can also bypass some of those things.
Wow. All right. Hope, thank you for digging deeper into this. And Greg, you know, I know you're taking this all in and your wheels are turning because the legal process. I know there are lots of lawsuits right now, but let's step back a moment from the specific one against Roblox and talk about what's happening in the legal system to address this.
Well, if you're a parent, you have children, you know, first of all, when I look at this, my analysis is as a parent first, then a lawyer second.
Same.
Because, you know, when you have children that are engaging in gaming, it is a metaverse that is a world in and of itself, and you don't know what's going on in there. And let's talk about what Roblox is. It's and you get the app. You can get it at the App Store, readily attainable. But how prolific it is on a single day, a typical day, there are 118 million users.
And again, it's free.
6.1 billion chats. So what these young children do is they go into this metaverse called Roblox. They create an avatar that's made out of kind of Lego-esque creatures. You create that, you can play games, you can chat, you can do videos. So what happens is you have created the perfect universe for predators. And what we're seeing is this is a hunting ground for sexual exploitation, sex trafficking, etc., and grooming. And what you're seeing is a lot of grooming of young people, and it creates a plethora of civil issues, and it creates a ton of unfortunate criminal issues. The case that we're talking about, and again, parents, please pay attention. A 37-year-old man from Jefferson County, Tennessee, just up the road, groomed and lured this person from the Roblox. 13 years old, with all this, and this is one of the heart of the lawsuit. No parental notification, no security. Lured her off the site after telling her he loved her, etc.
Her parents, she was with her grandparents and lured her from their home.
The individual goes to Iowa, kidnaps her at her grandmother's house, takes her to Jefferson County, and allegedly, there's not only a civil lawsuit, but a criminal case in Jefferson County.
Absolutely.
Where this predator is being held on a $500,000 bond, where he had raped her repeatedly for days. The little girl escaped and went to a neighbor's house. So Iowa police called the Jefferson County Police Department. He gets arrested. Excellent prosecutors. I was just up there yesterday in Jefferson County. Excellent bench. But that's how dangerous these apps are and it's scary.
It is so scary. And let's talk about what these lawsuits are seeking. And these are terms that we have already just talked about. Families want compensation for severe emotional distress, social isolation, financial loss from in-game spending. We haven't talked about that yet. And negative impacts on academic and professional life. It's one thing to have a child kidnapped when they're talking to these terrible people due to an apparent lack of safeguards. But an effect on schoolwork. I mean, you just said we're talking as parents here as well as a journalist and a legal representative.
There have been a number of lawsuits throughout the country on a number of apps and gaming sites, whether it's Fortnite, Call of Duty, whatever. Some others where they are charging accounts erroneously. A lot of big multi-million-dollar settlements for that, where these kids are going in there being charged for token after token after token. The gaming sites create algorithms. They create ways that will manipulate, like what can be the best FOMO. That means fear of missing out. How do you lure these children? So
it's so psychological.
So lawsuit after lawsuit, but this one is a failure to protect and police the site. That's one of the allegations. They want past and future damages because you don't know how this juvenile is going to be impacted. So
it sounds like, I mean, she went through an absolutely horrifying
basically
situation.
A failure to use reasonable care. But here's a good question from one of our viewers, Hannah. Are there any signs parent can keep an eye out for? Hannah, let me tell you how bad this particular gaming site is. They have acknowledged a problem with people that are predators and vigilantes, and they don't seem to differentiate between the two. And those are older people that are going in, pretending to be younger, grooming these children, etc. Then you have another group of adults that are pretending to be children to try to address the predators.
Try to catch them in the act.
Catch the children, whatever.
Kind of online bounty hunters.
Yeah. So what do you look for when you see a site that's got all these problems? Run. Unless you are there monitoring your children, run. Because think about this. This is a situation where a child, because there were no safeguards, a 13-year-old got groomed by a 37-year-old man. She was bought gifts, told that she was loved, and then taken from Iowa to Jefferson County, Tennessee, and raped repeatedly. It would be like putting your child in a playground with a bunch of registered sex offenders
and leaving,
dropping them off and going home. That's the analogy.
Let's talk about who is victimized here, because in other cases of human trafficking and all of that, there's a certain vulnerable aspect to the victim, already perhaps at risk. Not always, but in terms of someone who may be bullied at times and how it can lend itself to situations like the one we're talking about. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Glad you're with us today. We're talking about Roblox and how wildly popular it is with kids. I'm getting ready to blow your mind because we have a new statistic. We know a bunch of kids are on this free gaming site, but according to the Kentucky Attorney General, nearly 2/3 of all kids in the U.S. between the ages of 9 and 12 play games on the Roblox platform. That's 2/3.
That is astonishing.
It's absolutely astonishing. And as a matter of fact, the AG there, Russell Coleman, announced within the last several hours a lawsuit against Roblox. So here's another lawsuit for allegedly creating a hunting ground for child predators. He says since its launch, and it's been around for a while, Greg, since 2006, Roblox has, quote, knowingly permitted an online environment for exploitation, directly contributing to the, quote, widespread victimization of minor children in Kentucky. Not just Kentucky, but that's what the AG's lawsuit there says.
And what you're seeing in a host of lawsuits throughout the country is lawsuits that are attacking the design and the intent of these apps.
And let's talk about the design and how they, they really work on the kid's mind, their psyche.
Well, what the lawsuits allege is that they are designed to be intentionally addictive, and companies use psychological manipulation. They use studies based on neuroscience, design tactics, loot boxes, variable rewards, and fear of missing out. So it's kind of like in the old days where the campaigns for big tobacco, all the psychological manipulation that we saw on TV and the camel,
The characters,
designed
the camel.
trying to lure in kids. It's just not by accident that kids are addicted to gaming. They are designed to create this addiction, to psychologically manipulate, to have an algorithm that preys on them. And so you're seeing cases, and it's just not Roblox. Fortnite, Minecraft, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto 5. And isn't it amazing that the most popular gaming sites are the ones that the lawsuits say are the most villainous at being designed to addict? Now think about that.
They're free.
Yeah.
And you don't have to give your real birth date. In fact, let's bring Hope back in, our digital producer. If you're just joining us, Hope got online, got on the Roblox website, and you were able to sign in as a very young kid.
Yeah, I signed in as a 7-year-old. That's crazy. And a lot of the sites are free. I will correct you though, Minecraft is not free.
Minecraft is not free. Roblox is free.
Roblox is
That's
free.
what we were saying.
Yes.
Roblox is free. And you have a screenshot of something that I want all parents to see. And Greg, let's talk more about this. And this is some ways that you can stay on top of what your kid is doing. You see up there where the arrow is. Let's see if we can bring that up, Hope. Parental controls and insights. So set up a linked parent account. You can view and update controls for your child from your own device. So like you were saying, Greg, you don't even have to be in the same room with them, or Hope was bringing that up earlier. You can monitor online what they're doing, their screen time, and who their friends are. That's a first step.
And when you think about it, Hannah's earlier question, the viewer question, what are the signs and how can I protect? Well, it would be really easy for Roblox to use some sort of verification that a 7-year-old is not producer Hope, that a 13-year-old is not a pedophile rapist from Jefferson County. So when you don't have that degree of verification, that creates a huge problem. Because now think about this. We watch where our children go to school. We walk them to the bus stop. These are young children. And part of what you look at the instructions and the preamble for Roblox, their age categories, 5 years old and up, and then a 13-year-old, there are different levels and requirements. Would you allow a 5-year-old to go to Westtown Mall and talk to every stranger by themselves? Hell no.
Same thing.
Yeah. I mean, would you allow a 13-year-old to go unattended throughout the country willy-nilly and just make friends with whomever? Yeah. It really, and the more you analyze it, it's remarkable, not only for the accountability, non-accountability of these apps, but also the parents, because it's almost just because it's a game, they treat it differently than you would if your 13-year-old was going to talk to a stranger across the country and receive gifts and send love letters.
Yeah, exactly. And this goes to, when do you let your child use a computer for fun? When do you let them have a smartphone? When do you let them have a smartwatch? You can play games on your watch.
The litmus test, and where things get bad really quick and they go from educational entertainment to being vulnerable and exploited, is when a game has the ability to chat and you have the ability to interact. It's okay to see other players and compete like some games do, but when you can say, click this box and then talk to, this character, that character, danger, Will Robinson, that's when I see the problem. Computers aren't bad. Gaming's not bad. Educational gaming's not bad. But when you have chats with, they're not your fellow gamers. I mean, they have.
But a
just
child
crazy
doesn't
names.
know that.
They don't know. It'll be like, Robin Hood 302.
And in their
or
mind,
like
it's that character
Teddy
they're
bear.
watching. They don't know.
There was
They
a
have
case
no
I was
idea.
involved with, and one of the pedophiles, his handle was Teddy Bear 55.
Ugh.
I mean, so you're sitting there and you're 13 or you're 12 or 11 and you're talking to Teddy
That's
Bear
cute.
00.
That's what
you
you're
have
thinking.
no idea it's a grown man or woman trying to groom and exploit you. But again, 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they don't have the wherewithal to get a computer, to hook it up, whatever. It begins and ends with responsibility from the parents and responsibilities for the game designers, and then how they monitor that game.
Now, I'll also caution, as a grandmother, grandparents need to be on the lookout as well. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to spoil my grandkids." Yeah, go ahead, play this game. You can have my phone. You can have my
the
iPad.
problem is
No.
a gaming app is the cheapest babysitter in the world.
Yeah, it is. It is. You've got to be so careful. Okay, we're going to bring in some other facts and figures here because this stuff has been going on for a while. In 2021, Epic Games settled a class action lawsuit. This was a multi-million-dollar settlement. Let's talk about that because that was more for finances, money spent.
Yes. Yeah, those there are a lot of things that you have lawsuits based on negligence, failure to protect. For example, this Roblox is an all too glaring example of how not to monitor an app of a gaming site. Then you have lawsuits regarding the design, where they are psychologically designed to create gaming addiction, manipulate, etc.
Overcharge, keep
then
charging.
You have the third category with some of these high-profile apps where they will just get your credit card and get you this,
Yeah.
and then you'll have kids that have no idea. It's like going to the club and giving your kid your number in the summer at the pool. Suddenly, you bought.
They have all
300
their
ice cream
friends.
sandwich. Yes.
We're number 302.
Yeah, so-
yes.
But what happens is that the children just run through the token.
Entertainment. The other is data security breaches, and we can go back to 2011 on this one involving Sony PlayStation, putting tons of people's information, credit information, and all of that at risk. So there are inherent risks with all of these things, like anything online. But with Roblox, this brings a whole new level of concern and actually a little bit of terror for parents, given this case from the Iowa girl in Jefferson County and just so many kids who use it.
Yeah, this has gone way beyond concern. It is terror. It is horror when you have a 13-year-old being lured and groomed in a gaming site in Iowa, and a pedophile traveling from Jefferson County, Tennessee, to kidnap her, take her across multiple state lines, and then rape her for days. That is something that is horrific. It should never happen.
But it can.
It can, and it's out of control.
Now, he is behind bars. He's on a $500,000 bond. So he is making his way through the legal process. But you never, obviously never want it to get to that point. So this is where parents come in. And we want to leave it with that. Parents watching, just make sure you keep up with what your kids are doing. Monitor, monitor, monitor.
How many times do we say in how many different contexts? The law really boils down to simple concepts. These gaming apps should use reasonable care under the circumstances in their design and their monitoring. And the last thing is parents parent.
There you go. Let's talk more at 5:30.
Let's do it.
Thanks for being with us.